Welcome everyone to Bookaccino Live for Wednesday, May 13th. We've got titles coming out in the next 4 weeks, and then we're going to be looking at early July, which I can't believe we're up to already. We're going to start with your top picks from April's presentation. First up was Lisa C's Daughters of the Sun and Moon. I have to tell you, it's absolutely terrific, and I am looking forward to you all reading it and talking about it. Next, we've got Catherine Stockett's The Curiosity Club. Oh my gosh, this is the Calamity Club. I'm sorry, the Calamity Club. It is excellent. And I got to see Catherine, I guess it was last week. All these days are kind of blurring together right now. Absolutely wonderful talking about the book. And I know it's one of your top picks. Got Whistler by Ann Patchett. I've got a galley I'm looking forward to reading. Got Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke, which I think is going to be one of the best of the year. A Pair of Aces by Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. And I'll have a little bit of news about that as we go through the presentation. Mad Mabel by Sally Hepworth, which I think is her best. And I got to see her a couple of weeks ago. My gosh, that girl just sparkles. She came out of this event. You never would have known she'd flown from Australia and spent 2 weeks on the road in the United States. You would think it was her first event and she left from her house. And she was just terrific. And I got to see Elizabeth Strout the other night talking about the things we never say. Very interesting talk. And what I really liked is as you go through this book, you're really sitting there and thinking about the things that are in it that we really don't talk about out loud, and the things that are like inner monologue with people as well. So they're your top choices, and it's been a lot of fun following these authors. So we're going to start with fiction and what we've got coming up. And we've got Seek the Traitor's Son by Veronica Roth. It's just out this week. It was our contest book yesterday on summer reading. So here's what we've got. Elegy An did not ask for destiny to find her. She's happy with her life as a soldier, defending her small country from the Telesar. But then she's summoned to hear a prophecy. She's brought face to face with the most ruthless of Telesar generals, Rava Vidar. They learn that one of them will lead their people to victory over the other, but they don't know which. And in just one day, Elegy's old life, her job, her purpose, and her future is over. She and Rava are destined to collide, with the fate of their nations hanging in the balance. And when they do, only one will be left standing. So there we've got the latest from Veronica Roth. Next, we've got The Burning Side from Sarah Damoth, and this is also a summer reading selection. It's coming out on May 19th, which is, I guess, next Wednesday, which I just can't believe, but next Tuesday, which I just can't believe is happening that quickly. I'm just real quick. So here's what we've got. When April and Leo's house burns in the middle of the night, they escape with their two young children. They retreat to April's childhood home in Dallas, where her spirited parents and siblings provide both comfort and complication. As the family reckons with the aftermath, the fire exposes the cracks already forming in April and Leo's marriage. The novel unfolds in alternating perspectives from April, who feels the crushing weight of motherhood, marriage, and self-blame, from Leo, high school history teacher shaped by a lonely, fractured childhood, from Deb, April's generous and no-nonsense mother who has to contend with her husband's recent Alzheimer's diagnosis, and hold on one second, and from flashbacks that trace April and Leo's relationship from its earliest days of connection to the devastating decisions that led them here. Really, really interesting to see like wow, how one event is going to have people relook at their lives in so many different ways. Next, we've got The Gulf of Lions by Caitlin Shetterly. She actually was one of our participants in our Mother's Day blogs last week. And what I really, really loved was how much she appreciated being included. If you haven't read those pieces, take a little bit of time. And even though Mother's Day is behind us, go back and look at them. One author after the other just did a terrific job on them. Okay, so The Gulf of Lions is a standalone sequel to her 2023 debut novel, Pete and Alice in Maine. Reconciling with her husband after a betrayal and recovering from a year-long battle with breast cancer, Alice longs for an escape from the trials of everyday life. When the opportunity arises for a once-in-a-lifetime camping trip across France, She packs up her daughters. Alice, teenage Sophie, and young Iris begin their odyssey in the French Alps. For the first time since her diagnosis, she starts to feel alive, less afraid of dying, and less angry about her husband's affair. But as the family continues south, so just one second, I have to get rid of something on my screen. I'm going to do this, make this go away. Hold on one second. I can't get something to go away, and it's making me crazy. I'm sorry. As the family continues south, they start to unravel the yarn that binds them together. And by the time they head to the charred Pyrenees to stay in a castle on the confluence of two rivers, they wonder if this trip was a disastrous and reckless mistake. So there we've got the Gulf of Lions. Next up, I'm having tech issues today. Okay, we've got The Shippers by Catherine Center, which is on sale on May 19th. After a lifetime of being bad at love, JoJo Burton vows to solve her intimacy issues once and for all at her sister's destination wedding on a cruise ship. Armed with pop psychology, she diagnoses herself with a fixation on the neighborhood guy who was her first crush and her first kiss, and who just happens to be a newly divorced wedding guest. Determined to woo him for closure, she ropes in her childhood bestie, Cooper Watts, as her wingman. Cooper, who RSVP'd no, but showed up anyway. Do love guests like that, don't we? Cooper, who moved to London without a word years ago. Cooper, who broke her heart. So I have a funny feeling that that may end up being Cooper in the picture on the cover. Just saying, just tossing that out there. Next, we've got Lori Foster's The Lake House. I had such fun talking to Lori about her last book, and this is her second novel in the Firefly summer series. And I'm going to be talking to her again. This is one of our summer reading picks, and you're going to see we also have a contest running about this right now. When Pixie Nolan first came to Bramble, Kentucky, the abandoned and desperate young single mother found hope, healing, and a fresh start. With the loving support of her best friend, she's now happily raising her toddler son in a cozy cottage. She never expected to make an electrifying connection to a summer renter, retired Navy SEAL with his own complicated past. Brogan Rafferty arrives with an adorable baby girl in tow and settles into the lake house next door. But it's no coincidence that Brogan has found Pixie, and his startling revelations make it clear that she's the key to healing old regrets and building new dreams. And when a hostile stranger turns up with shocking accusations against Bramble's just one second, something keeps running over I have to make this go away. I don't know how to. New hometown hero, Pixie must put her own fears and heartbreak away for good. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to interviewing her again. I'm looking forward to reading the book. Okay, Matt Haig, The Midnight Train. You know him as the author of The Midnight Library. It's coming on May 26th. No one can change the past, but the Midnight Train can take you there. The chance to relive moments that meant the most, to see what kind of person you really were. For Wilbur, his best days were with Maggie, the love of his life, on his honeymoon in Venice before he gave it all away. Wishes he could go back and live differently. But to do so, that's going to risk everything. So there we've got The Midnight Train. Now we've got Down with the Shipmans by Meg Mitchell Moore, and her last book was Mansion Beach. This one's coming on June 2nd. It's the week after 4th of July, and the Shipman sisters are returning to their picturesque summer home on the New Hampshire coast for what they believe is a family reunion, the first without their late mother. However, their tranquil setting quickly becomes a stage for drama when their father, Calvin, drops a bombshell news that he plans to sell the cherished beach house. His old memories are stirred up, and the sisters navigate both packing the house and their personal crises. The arrival of Calvin's new wife pushes Jordan, Natalie, and May to decide how far they're willing to go to preserve the Shipman bond. I could just picture this. I have a lot of friends whose parents are planning to sell the beach house that everybody's been at for years, and it's not a good moment. Next, from Mary Kay Andrews, we've got Road Trip. Last year, she took a year off from writing. She's back now on June 2nd, and this is also one of our summer reading titles. Maeve and Therese Dunnigan are sisters, but they've been estranged for years. They could not be more opposite. Maeve is the rule follower, and Therese is the rebel. But when their mother's death brings the family back together, the two find that they have inherited a painting. one that could be worth millions and save them from wolves at the door. The only issue is whether it's real or fake. And the only way that they can prove it's theirs is for the real McCoy to solve the mystery of how this portrait of an Anglo-Irish aristocrat made its way to their childhood home in Savannah, Georgia. That means a road trip to Ireland, to their family roots, and to the mysterious crime that occurred generations ago. With tension simmering, the two hit the road. But can they survive the journey without killing each other? So there they are in the Irish countryside with the painting up on top of the car. And as you know, MKA, Mary Kay Andrews, loves junking. She loves to go look for all kinds of treasures at garage sales at all kinds of different places. So is this painting something real or who knows? Next from Ruth Ozeki, we've got The Typing Lady coming on June 2nd. The award-winning novelist here turns her singular gaze to the short story, exploring childhood ambition, youthful desire, midlife reinvention, and the unsparing clarity of old age. A college student falls for her professor and learns to transmute longing into language. A long deceased beat poet hijacks the mind of a young publishing assistant during a sales meeting, railing against the state of modern literature. A curious grandmother creates a fake online dating profile to spy on her granddaughter's romantic life and sets in motion a deception she can't control. So there we've got The Typing Lady and other fictions. There you go. Fictitious. Yeah, there we go. Okay, Whistler from Ann Patchett. Just What's It About? Coming on June 2nd. When Daphne Fuller and her husband Jonathan visit the Metropolitan Museum of Art, they notice an older white-haired gentleman following them. The man turns out to be Eddie Triplett, her former stepfather, who had married to her mother for a little more than a year when Daphne was 9. Now 53, Daphne hasn't seen Eddie in many years, not since the fateful event that changed the direction of both of their lives. Meeting again, time falls away. While the relationship was brief, it had a profound impact on both of them. And now they find that they are reunited. They have no intention of ever being separated again. I've got to read this to find the significance of the horse that's on the cover. And if any of you know already, you can drop it into the chat and share that with me later. Now I've got some historical fiction. And we're going to start with a book out this week, The Forestdom by Christina Baker Klein. This is one of our word of mouth selections. We'll have more on that and how you can win that prize in a little bit. When Eng and Chang Bunker arrive in Wilkes County in 1839, everyone is eager to learn if the salacious rumors about them are true. Within months, the twins have opened a general store, bought land, and begun building a plantation. And now word has it that they're looking for wives, and in a place that thrives on gossip and legacy, their ambitions set the community on edge. Sarah and Adelaide Yates, daughters of a once prominent local family brought low by scandal, are drawn into their orbit. Bold, beautiful Adelaide sees in the twins' fame a chance to reclaim her future. Sarah, quiet and observant, isn't so sure. When the twins' lives become entangled with theirs, they must navigate loyalty, longing, and identity in a world where everything, including race, class, and gender, is rigidly defined. What's interesting here is that in this story, there's a distant relative of Christina Baker Klein's is woven into this story. So you have to read more to see like how that happens and read more from her about that. Next, we've got A Perfect Hand from Iowa Waldman, which is coming on May 19th. Miss Alice Lockie, the daughter of a tenant farmer, has raised herself to the lofty status of lady's maid at Alderwick Park. Though her mother has advised her to work only until marriage, Alice thus far has resisted the temptations of matrimony among the neighboring widows and pig farmers. But when a visiting servant, a valet named Charlie Wells, catches her eye, Alice begins to understand the constraints of her position. In a ploy to spend more time with the object of her affection, Alice attempts to arrange a romance between Lady Jemima Alderwick and Charlie's employer, the one Baronet Sir Nigel Winstow. If only they would fall in love, then Charlie and Alice might live together as man and wife. Challenged by Lady Jemima's love for another and Sir Winston's eccentric personality, she must use all of her cunning to bring this unlikely romantic union together. So it's a really interesting cover. Just take a look at that for a second and what we be saying with that. Feel like I was talking in like ancient terms by saying what we'd be saying with that. Okay. Next, we've got The Boleyn Secret by Alison Weir coming on May 26th. At 12 years old, Catherine Carey attends her aunt, Queen Anne Boleyn's, to the scaffold. Horrified by what she witnesses, Catherine is concerned that King Henry VIII is a murderer and has sent an innocent woman to a terrible death. Although the Boleyn family has now fallen from favor, Catherine still manages to secure a coveted role as companion to her now motherless cousin, the young Lady Elizabeth. Only when her mother lies dying does Catherine learn the earth-shattering, life-shattering truth that the Boleyns have been hiding for years. It's a secret that follows Catherine throughout her life, as she flees religious persecution with her husband and lives abroad in fear, returning home only when Elizabeth becomes queen. The bond between the Boleyn cousins will never be the same again. Yearly we think about the women who are killed, but we never think about who is the rest of the family and what has happened to them. So Allison has those answers. Okay, next we've got A Fortune of Sand by Ruta Septis. This is her first book for adults. It's coming on May 26th. Been a huge fan of hers for years. Her best-selling, she was a New York Times best-selling author of Salt to the Sea. I think I've read all of her YA titles. This one's coming May 26th, and I am going to be interviewing her next week for an interview that will run after the book comes out. Marjorie Lennox is the youngest daughter of a powerful Detroit dynasty. Creative, reckless, and never quite what they wanted, Marjorie has spent her life overlooked by her controlling father and self-absorbed siblings. But when she secretly applies to an elite arts program backed by a mysterious patient, she grabs a chance to finally step out of her family's shadow. The program is strict in ways that feel sinister. Doors lock at strange hours. Rumors spread about women going missing. And the handsome benefactor behind it all is as magnetic as he is unsettling. As Marjorie gets pulled deeper into his world, she must fight to discover the truth before she loses herself completely. So there's Fortune of Sand, and I absolutely love that cover. Next, we've got Land by Maggie O'Farrell, which is coming on June 2nd. On a windswept peninsula stretching out into the Atlantic, Tomas and his reluctant son Liam are working for the Great Ordnance Survey Project to map the whole of Ireland. The year is 1865, and in a country not long since ravaged and emptied by the Great Hunger, the task is not an easy one. Tomas, however, is determined that his maps will be a record of the disaster. The British soldiers in charge are due to arrive any day, expecting the work to be completed. But Tomas is unexpectedly set off course by an unsettling encounter. His life and the lives of those of his family will never be the same again. Liam is terrified by the sudden change in his taciturn father. What happened to cause such to open in Tomas? And how is Liam, who is only 10, going to finish the mapping and get them both home? There we've got Land. You know her as the best-selling author of Hamnet. Next, we've got A Pair of Aces from Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. Note that the date on this book changed. The on sale date is June 2nd. It moved up from later in June, which usually means it's going to be some kind of a pick from somebody. It's all kept quiet until the 11th hour of which book club will have picked it. But I've just got a funny feeling that that's what's going on with this. And you know these two as the authors of The Personal Librarian. So, Eunice Carter, Assistant District Attorney for the City of New York and Manhattan's first Black female prosecutor, has her sights set on Lucky Luciano, the head of New York City's 5 largest organized crime families. Other prosecutors have tried to bring down Lucky, but they've all focused on the crime syndicate's traditional businesses or tax evasion. No one has thought to approach the mob through its role in prostitution until Eunice, but she can't get Luciano alone. Podley Adler has worked long and hard to build up her high class brothel business. Her client list is filled with well-known names. But Lucky has gone too far, putting her girls in danger, and Polly finally sees the chance to end his reign once and for all. So they fashion a case utilizing a network of women. And it's this very alliance of two women from very different backgrounds that come to be part of the most sensational trial New York City has ever seen. So there you've got a pair of aces. I love the way they put these two people together in these stories where they each are bringing somebody that they feel that they can write authentically about together in a story. Next, we've got the Windsor Affair coming from Melanie Benjamin on June 2nd. Feuding Windsor brothers and their wives. Some things, it seems, never change. The Windsor Affair recreates the cataclysmic events that nearly toppled the monarchy and incited a power struggle between Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon and Wallis Simpson. Told from the perspectives of both women, the novel propels readers into the fabulous world of the debonair Prince of Wales, cafe society in the 1930s, and the glittering private lives of the Windsors. The first novel to be dedicated to this infamous rivalry, The Windsor Affair brings us all the gossip intrigue between these two very different, yet perhaps more similar than they would admit, wives of royals. Now, there's something I'm seeing here. I read the Calamity Fair and Calamity, Tom, am I correct on the title? Because you know me in titles. Calamity Fair?
The Calamity Club.
Calamity Club. See, Tom once again corrected me on titles. That takes place in the 1930s. I am just reading Priya Primar's novel, which is called The Original, takes place in the 1930s. This takes place in the 1930s. Really interesting to read the three books and see what very different worlds were happening during this time. And I'm feeling like I just didn't notice it until last night when I was reading the original, and I thought, wait a second, this is 1930. So was the Calamity Club. It's interesting to see how we have different perspectives on the same time period, much as what we will be writing about today as well, of what people are seeing from different perspectives. So I'm just tossing that out there because I was looking last night and I said, wait a second, these are all taking place during the same time. Okay, let's do some thrillers and mysteries. And let's start with The Anniversary by Alex Finley that is just out this week, and a lot of people are talking about this one. On May 1, 1992, Jules Delaney and Quinn Riley hardly know each other. Jules is the high school queen bee in a small Midwestern town when she survives a brutal attack by the elusive Mayday killer, a predator who strikes every May 1st. Quinn, a boy from the wrong side of the tracks, is arrested the same night after trying to break up a fight and nearly killing someone. By morning, their lives are forever connected. A year later, Jules is tormented by one question. Why was she spared? Quinn is newly released from juvenile detention and returns home to the unsolved murder of his mother. Over the next decade, the two are joined by the same day all the time, May 1st. And secrets lead to the paths of Julia and Quinn, and they're drawn closer together. So there you go, The Anniversary. Ashley Elson said, this is razor sharp, smart, and emotionally charged. It's everything I want in a thriller. So take a look at The Anniversary. Next, we've got The Last Mandarin by Louise Penny and Melissa Fung, which is out this week. Alice Lee, the first generation Chinese American and former food blogger, has long lived in the shadow of her mother, Vivian Lee, a Tiananmen Square dissident turned world renowned human rights activist and passionate advocate for a free and democratic China. When security and fire alarms go off simultaneously all over the world, setting off a panic, the signals trace back to China. As world leaders scramble to respond, Vivian and Alice are called to the White House in hopes that Madame Lee can interpret the Chinese intentions. But why involve Alice? If China isn't behind what is going on, who is even more dangerous pulling the strings? And mother and daughter must overcome their estrangement if they have any hope of preventing global catastrophe. There's The Last Mandarin. And interesting to see the two Lee's writing with a writing partner. Next, from James Comey, we've got Red Verdict, which is out this week. Nora Carlton is hitting her stride as Deputy U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York when a high stakes counterintelligence case pulls her into a deadly game with global implications. A Russian style hit on an executive and an American drone manufacturer sends a chilling message. But what exactly is it? Was the victim a Russian mole or just a convenient target? Teaming up with her longtime friend, Special Agent Benny Dugan, Nora launches a criminal investigation that takes them from New York to Las Vegas with hopes of prosecuting a traitor who has put their country at risk. But as they dig deeper into the tangled web of Russian intelligence and those who profit from its reach, Nora finds herself in the crosshairs of a powerful forces determined to keep their secrets buried. So there you've got Red Verdict. Next, we've got The Dorians, which is coming from Nick Cutter on May 19th. On a remote island in the Canadian wilderness, five elderly volunteers from different walks of life are given a tantalizing offer to stall their biological clocks or even reverse them, restoring their lost youth. The last chance to put death on pause, forever perhaps. The remarkable secret lies in high-tech harnessing of an ancient and extraordinary biological agent, one with no conscience, yet possessed with a single-minded pursuit that has helped it persist for eons, the will to survive. The dark heart of unbridled human ambition finds its apex in an unholy experiment that now tests the limits of both creator and subject, eclipsing all bonds of morality and sanity. So there you've got The Dorians. Next, we've got from Michael Connolly, a Catalina novel called Ironwood. It's coming on May 19th. Detective Sergeant Stillwell knows that his posting on Catalina Island is no paradise. Acting on a tip from a confidential informant, Stillwell and his deputies watch a plane land in the middle of the night at the airport in the sky, a remote airstrip in the mountains. A duffel bag of drugs is dropped, and the deputy moves in, but everything goes sideways. While Stillwell chases the fleeting pickup man into the mountainside brush, shots are fired on the runway and the plane flies off. An internal inquiry follows, putting Stillwell on the bench until he's cleared of responsibility for the disastrous operation. But he's determined to find out who brought deadly violence to his island, so he begins his own secret investigation into the drug deal gone wrong. So there we've got Ironwood. Next, you've got The One Day You Were My Husband by Rosie Walsh. It's coming on May 19th. Carrie and Johan marry on a beach in Thailand, only months into their whirlwind romance. But as the wedding festivities stretch into the night, a group of armed men suddenly swarm the beach, taking Johan away, and she never sees him again. 12 years later, Carrie is living in the English countryside with her husband, Robin, and their 6-year-old twins. One night, she stumbles across an online post in which she discovers that Johan has escaped from Thailand years ago and has been living in Stockholm ever since. As the memories of their passionate relationship flood her, she becomes obsessed with discovering what happened on their wedding day all those years ago. But just when she thinks she knows what's going on, a shocking twist tears apart everything she thought she knew. Now, what does this say? Maybe we should be careful with destination weddings, especially those in Thailand. There's my thought for the day. Next, we've got Beneath a Broken Sky by Joshua Mulling, which is coming on May 26th. It's a hot, miserable summer in the small town of Sandy Lake. Detective Ben Packer has finally settled into life here, just in time for a tornado to sweep through the county, causing irreparable damage. Hiding among the debris is someone with a secret. When a mother made enemies defending her bullied son is killed, the suspect list stretches across the entire town. For Packard, the case hits uncomfortably close to home. The deeper he digs, and the more Sandy Lake hums with a tension that refuses to break. Thick smoke from a nearby wildfire chokes the air. Someone in his past shows up on a doorstep without warning, forcing him to confront the reality of navigating life as a gay man and a small town bent on tradition. So there we've got Beneath a Broken Sky. Love what they did with that cover with the O on the cover. William Ken Kruger says, this is one of the best new voices in the mystery genre. And we all love Kent, so let's take that to heart. Next, we've got The Girl in the Lake by Lauren Oliver, which is coming out on June 1st. Kate Willis, a consultant for the Division of Perpetual Studies at the University of Virginia, is tasked with interviewing 6-year-old Henley Haskell about the girl's alleged past life recollections. The evaluation also marks a return for Kate to Stockbridge, Massachusetts, and to troubling recollections of her own. Here, 24 years ago, Kate's friend Becca McGuire vanished from her bunk at a now shuttered summer camp and was never seen again, presumably drowned in Lake, let me see if I can do this, Soquamet. Making that up, folks, but I think that's the way I'm going to call it. The mystery of her disappearance is only deepening because Henley's memories of her other life are ones that can only belong to Becca. For Kate, Henley's recurring suffocating nightmares and her disturbing illustrations of places she has never been seem to spell out the unbelievable. And somewhere, somehow, the truth, what really happened to Becca, is locked up. There you go. Let's do some memoirs, biographies, and other nonfiction. From Douglas Brunt, who wrote the terrific book, it was about the diesel engine. We've got a new book, The Lost Empire of Emmanuel Nobel. And when you think of Nobel, let's just start for a second. You think of the Nobel Peace Prize, right? Is that what you always sit and think of? Well, on May 19th, we're going to find a different family, different part of the family. With the exception of the Tsar, Emmanuel Nobel was likely the wealthiest man in early 20th century Russia and one of the wealthiest in the world. Over 3 generations, he and his family grew the Russian petroleum industry into a behemoth that surpassed even John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil. Nobel's imported the best practices from America and improved upon them, transforming every aspect of the industry. Though his uncle Alfred would become world famous thanks to his creation of the Nobel Prize, the even more successful Nobels in Russia have been largely forgotten. And this is why one of history's most gripping untold stories. It's also really interesting with what's going on with gas prices and oil prices right now to sit there and see how the world controls the price of oil, how the price is set, and how this man at the early 20th century Russia, where did that end up happening? And what was he doing way back at the beginning that he surpassed even Standard Oil? So, really interesting topic. From Jesmyn Ward, we've got On Witness and Despair. This collection of essays documents more than a decade of work in the singular writer, often lauded as the heir apparent to Toni Morrison. Beginning with her upbringing in a multi-generational household in rural Mississippi, the cradle of both her youth, and her gift for storytelling, Jesmyn Ward brings her keen wisdom and haunting lyrical prose to a range of topics, following in her grandmother Dorothy's footsteps when she promises to tell it all straight, tell it all. True to her word, in these pages, Ward contemplates the writers and novels of her youth and adulthood. She ruminates on her approach to both fiction and life, reflecting on the power of the novel, how to raise a black son in an era of rising divisiveness and cruelty, as well as her own personal tragedies. And she lost her husband during COVID. I don't believe he died of COVID. I believe he died of something else. But this, for her to be coming back to write this book, this collection of essays is going to be very interesting. Okay, now we've got The Killer and Frank Lloyd Wright by Casey Sherman. It's coming on May 26th. Frank Lloyd Wright was more than the mind behind America's most iconic buildings. He was a man whose turbulent private life captivated a nation. Famous architect Stormy married to Kitty Wright, and his infamous affair with another woman, Maha Borthwick, ignited one of the country's first celebrity scandals, splashed across headlines from coast to coast. And then in August 1914, scandal turned to horror. A tragedy at Taliesin, the Wisconsin home Wright built as a monument to love, shook the very foundation of his life and catapulted him back to the front pages of newspapers across the country as readers clamored for glimpses of his very darkest moments. In The Killer and Frank Lloyd Wright, Casey Sherman delves beyond the myths of what his genius to reveal a man of restless ambition, consuming passion, and devastating loss. And I had the opportunity to be at both Taliesin East and Taliesin West, the other one being out in Arizona. It was really interesting to see what he built there and then be walking through and hearing about the fire and who escaped and who was killed. Very, very well done. If you ever get an opportunity, I highly recommend it. Next, we've got The Land and Its People by David Sedaris, coming on May 26th. The Land and Its People, David Sedaris investigates what it means to be a traveler, brother, and a lifelong friend. Trying on the role of caretaker after his boyfriend Hugh's hip replacement surgery, he both succeeds and fails. Ever adding to his list of countries I have been to, he rides a horse named Tequila in Guatemala, buys a bespoke priest cassock in Vatican City, and goes on safari in Kenya without taking a single photo. Through these essays, Sedaris shows us how much there is to marvel at when you keep your head up and your eyes open, observing with warmth and curiosity this fascinating human species and the lands we inhabit. I've been asked Tom to check and see if he is the one that narrates this. If so, every book of his that he has narrated, I have completely enjoyed. So we'll get to, when he figures that out, we'll let you know. But if he's doing the audiobook, it'd be really terrific. So I just love, look at that picture on the cover, the land and its people. Totally Sedaris. Next, we've got
Yeah,
the,
Carol, he is indeed narrating it.
he is indeed narrating.
Hmm.
So, something else to look forward to. So this is The Kennedys and the Windsors by Caroline Helleman. It's coming on June 2nd. For nearly a century, two families an ocean apart have captivated the world's collective imaginations, the British Windsors and the American Kennedys. Much ink has been spilled on their individual trysts, tragedies, and triumphs over the years, but no one has examined their powerful and intertwined legacies until now. In The Kennedys and the Windsors, acclaimed journalist Caroline Halleman unearthed the story of the two iconic families whose lives, ambitions, and respective reigns have mirrored each other in surprising ways. Through rich archival research and fresh interviews from insiders on both sides of the Atlantic, Howland reveals how the upstart Irish Catholic family with little access into elite New England society came to host dinner parties for a king and queen and forge an eventual path to the White House. And in the process, she draws some startling parallels between the two families. And the subtitle of this one is The Story of Two Dynasties, One Born and One Made. Very, very interesting topic once again. I'd love to see what people decide to go write about and spend time with. Now we've got The View from the East Wing by Jill Biden, which is coming on June 2nd. Joe Biden became the became first lady at a complicated moment in US history, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic and in the shadow of the January 6th insurrection. These were circumstances under which she set up office in the East Wing, where she hit the ground running. Through her husband's presidency, she remained a tireless advocate for her causes, including women's health, military families, vaccine awareness, cancer initiatives, and education. She made history as the first ever First Lady to hold an outside job while her husband was in office, continuing to work as a professor at a nearby community college. Yet all the while, she saw herself as an ordinary woman living an extraordinary life. In this book, she shares her White House experiences for the first time in her own words. So there's Jill Biden. Next, we've got July titles to look forward to, and we're going to do the first half of the month because Tom Donadio, our editorial director, has all mapped out how we present things throughout the year, and I am lucky to have him to figure this all out. We're starting with a novella coming from Greg Hurwitz, which is called The Delivery. It's coming on July 1st. Rebecca and Mark Higgins are doing their best to hold their family together. She's healing from the pain of a miscarriage, he's drowning in pressure at work, and their neurodivergent daughter, Maddie, needs all the care she can get. So when a cutting edge tech company offers a perfect solution, they jump at the chance and they welcome Mr. Man, a humanoid AI companion, into their home. Designed to anticipate their needs, he's like a miracle at first. The house runs like clockwork. Meals appear at the table, and Maddie thrives under his patient attention. But when inexplicable tragedies start to strike the neighborhood, Rebecca glimpses a darker pattern at play. Each incident is an answer to an unspoken fear, each kindness shadowed by violence. Mr. Man isn't following instructions, he's anticipating what they want, even the things they never dared to say. And you know him as Greg is the author of the Orphan X series. So here is a novella, something where he's exploring a new topic. I got to see him last week during the Thriller Fest events, and he was talking to me. He says, yes, lots of new things going on. And this is one. Next, we've got Helpless by Jessica Knoll. And this is coming out on July 7th. It's been 12 years since Faye Heron broke Henry Spaulding's heart. Henry was her college boyfriend, her first love, but Faye was in danger of being subsumed by him and the intensity of their connection. Now Faye is one half of a power-producing duo with her Hollywood husband. Henry is a married father running the family business. On the surface, both of their lives have essentially gone to plan. When former and beloved college professor suddenly passes away, Faye and Henry find themselves back on campus for the funeral, circling something old and dangerous. Something, if Faye is honest with herself, she's been trying to duplicate for years, but Henry is one of a kind. So, the kind who delivers an hypnotic, hypnotic apology for the way things ended. I can't read the next two things because there's this cover that's over the top. Tom, can you read the last two lines for me? Sorry.
Sure. The kind who delivers a hypnotic apology for the way things ended, the kind who suggests they go back to the hotel for a drink, the kind who drugs and kidnaps her.
There you go. So Lisa Jewell said this is dark, twisty, and addictive. And Laura Dave said Jessica Knoll is one of my favorite writers, and Helpless is her best, a fearless, powerful, and completely original thriller. I am looking forward to reading this one. Well, there's this little box over the bottom of the screen. That's the picture of the cover again. It's very weird. I've never had this happen before, so I can't read the bottom of all these descriptions. So now we've got Love You More by Emily Giffin coming on July 7th. Billy has built the perfect life. Her medical practice in New York City is thriving, and she's finally found the right partner in Dean after years of trying to move from her high school sweetheart Mick. Their young love has been intense and true, but distance and ambition pulled them apart when she left Wisconsin for medical school. And then one morning, just after she's accepted Dean's romantic marriage proposal, Billy's phone rings. It's Mick, calling for the first time in nearly a decade. His news is urgent. In a moment, everything changes. As Billy boards a plane back to Wisconsin, her past comes back rushing in. Her hometown friendships, the love she and Mick shared, and the choices that shaped them all. And this makes it one of Emily Giffin's perfect beach reads. So there you go. Next, we've got Man Overboard by Kathleen Rooney. They say Adriana Trajani said this is destined to become the best book of the summer. It's coming on July 7th. Patrick Kilpatrick hates the ocean. He's always been terrified of it, and now he's in a real pickle. Drifting alone in the sea after falling or jumping, he can't remember. At the all-inclusive drinks on the cruise he was taking with his extended family, well, were inclusive. Kick must survive, breath by breath, hour by hour in the lonely sea. As the waves crash over him, so do thoughts and memories of just how he got here. A Thanksgiving cruise with an obnoxious brother-in-law as he has to bite his tongue to keep from screaming. A father who gives the great Santini a run for his money. And a mother has already left the family boat, so to speak, a long time ago. Tom, I'm leaving the next line up to you.
His family may be complicated, and the pains of life may seem unbearable, infuriating enough to leap from the deck, but maybe the will to survive is stronger.
There you go. And she is the best-selling author of uh, Lillian Boxfish Takes a Walk. Remember that book? There you go. Next, we've got Single Girls by John Searles, which is coming on July 7th. I am looking forward to interviewing. I am looking forward to this book. He worked at Cosmopolitan. I worked at Mademoiselle. So he knows Hearst. I know Condé Nast. And boy, if you just want to sit there and dive into a book about magazines the way they were, not the way they are now. It's on sale July 7th. In 1965, Helen Gurley Brown is fresh off the runway success of her book, Sex and the Single Girl. a revolutionary call to single women, urging them not to rush into marriage on anyone's timeline but their own, and even more radically, to enjoy their sex lives, gloriously free of shame. Upon the book's publication, half the country is outraged, the other half will follow her anywhere. Moved by thousands of letters arriving at her doorstep from readers desperate for advice, she marches from one Manhattan magazine conglomerate to another, looking for a perch from which to dispense her unconventional wisdom. At her last stop, she finally gets her shot. Just 3 issues to turn around the flailing magazine Cosmopolitan. Single Girls begins at the dawn of her storied tenure and journeys back to her youth, envisioning the devastations and the people who forged her into a controversial legend. So she also has got the wildest cover lines of all times. We used to sit those and read those in meetings. Every cover line from Cosmopolitan was just fodder for what was going on. And just here's this is completely fun. I am really looking forward to interviewing John. Next, we've got The Half-Life by Rachel Beeland. It's coming on July 14th. And this is based a little bit on something that happened to her family when her father was in the Navy and the family was stationed overseas. When 23-year-old Eileen O'Malley meets the charismatic naval officer Paul Archer in a Charleston department store, she doesn't expect to fall so hard so fast. But soon she's got a ring on her finger and is following Paul to the tiny sun-drenched Mediterranean island of La Maddalena, where he will be heading up radiological controls aboard a submarine tender. The decision to send nuclear-powered subs into La Maddalena's archipelago is a contentious one, and the U.S. government is doing whatever it can to ensure that the island, not to mention all of Italy, doesn't go communist in the next election. When Italian activists and scientists begin to sound the alarm about possible nuclear contamination in the water, the island erupts in a series of protests. And soon Eileen's marriage falters and her loyalties begin to shift as she's drawn into a web of secrets. I love Rachel's writing. Her last book was one of her books was Florence Adler Lives Forever, and I am just crazy about what she writes. Claire Leslie Hall said this is a captivating, whip smart novel about love, loyalty, and a woman torn between two lives. I utterly adored it. And Claire Leslie Hall is the author of Broken Country. Next, we've got Hot Girl Murder Club by Ashley Winstead, which is coming on July 14th. 10 years ago, aspiring singer-actress Scout Sage lost the one thing that mattered, her sister Georgia. And ever since Georgia's mysterious death at a Hollywood party, Scout has done her best to honor her sister's memory, clawing her way through the industry and collecting a network of climbers along the way. Fellow hot girls in stilettos with cutthroat ambition, a new Hollywood order. But the slew of targeted murders make headlines across LA, all pointing to Scout as the killer. She turns overnight from a mid-tiered pop star into the world's most famous alleged murderer. Now, everything she's worked to build, including the justice she wants for Georgia, will fall apart unless Scout can prove she's not guilty. Meanwhile, Tom, I'm going to have you take it away.
Meanwhile, the young and unusual detective assigned to her case, herself no stranger to tragedy, begins to unearth secrets not even Scout knows, let alone her millions of new fans.
So there you go, Hot Girl Murder Club. Next, we've got The Intrigue by Sylvia Moreno Garcia on sale on July 14th. Another very, very provocative cover. You know her as the New York Times bestselling author of Mexican Gothic. Handsome con artist Ulysses has lived a charm, like, let me start that again. Handsome con artist Ulysses has long charmed lonely women via letters in order to steal their money. But money's hard to come by in 1940s Mexico. Ulysses knows his looks won't last forever, and he's desperate to get his hands on a real fortune. He thinks he's found it when he captivates his newest correspondent, Perla, the owner of a small-town boarding house in picturesque Veracruz. But when he meets her, he finds something he didn't expect. The woman has a niece, Inez, who is as observant as she is desperate to escape her aunt's household. When Inez discovers Ulysses' true intentions, she wants in on the scheme. They'll convince her aunt that he's a great catch. Pearl will marry him and the money will vanish. But Pearl is not the desperate, silly spinster that he imagines. She harbors secrets, and though he doesn't believe in true romance, she's more alluring than Tom. I'm going to have you do the rest. She is more
Sure.
alluring.
And although Ulysses does not believe in true romance, Enos is more alluring than he bargained for. Suddenly, a simple plan may become perilously complicated.
Thank you, Tom. I need you again on this one just to line you up. The Parisian Heist by Joe Piazza is coming on July 14th. She's the best-selling author of The Sicilian Inheritance. Emma, a struggling American artist in Paris, thought she had left her dreams behind when she took a job cleaning for the city's wealthy elite. Then she meets Stella Swanson, the widow of one of the most notorious art dealers in the business. Drawn in by their dazzling wealth, Emma becomes both a player and a pawn in a family battle to protect their empire and conceal its crimes. In the late 1800s, young widow Jo Van Gogh inherits hundreds of paintings from her brother in law Vincent that the art world deems worthless. Determined to prove their genius, she becomes consumed by his legacy. As her devotion deepens, a vanishing painting and a thwarted love affair leave her unsure who she can trust and how much of herself she's willing to lose in the process. Tom, I'm going to have you do the last paragraph.
Sure. The lives of these two women converge as Emma uncovers the Swanson family's darkest secrets and agrees to mastermind a daring heist inside the Musée d'Orsay, which is probably not the right pronunciation, but there you go.
But I'm sure you did a better job
Musée
of it than me.
d'Orsay.
I can't see it, so I think you're dead on. There you go. Next, we've got Ransom coming from Daniel Silva. It's coming on July 14th. Love this cover. Alice Winter, one of Britain's most dazzling socialites, seems to have the perfect life: a lavish home in posh Knightsbridge, a grand estate in Devon, millions of followers on social media who will eagerly await her next post. When she disappears without a trace while on holiday with three old friends from Cambridge, her desperate husband, the real estate baron Edward Knight, turns to none other than, ta-da, Gabriel alone to find her. Gabriel soon discovers that Alice Winter is not the woman she appears to be. She has a reckless side and she has secrets. But Edward Knight has a secret too, a secret so dangerous that Gabriel will have no choice but to return to the life he thought he had left behind. An old enemy lurks there, waiting for him to make one misstep, waiting for the perfect moment to exact vengeance. So there's the next book coming from Daniel Silva. Next, from Lisa Scottolini, we've got This Changes Everything. Laura Dave said this is a riveting, deeply felt, and empowering thriller. It's on sale on July 14th. Julia Pritzker loves her new life as a wife and mother in beautiful Tuscany, except that she misses her best friend Courtney back in the States. And one night, Julia calls Courtney and reaches her as she's arriving at her grandmother's farm in Pennsylvania. Then the unthinkable happens. A dreaded premonition overwhelms Julia as Courtney is entering the house. But it's too late to stop Courtney, who makes a heartbreaking discovery. Her beloved grandmother has been murdered, and the killer is escaping out the back door. A distraught Courtney chases him, but he jumps into a pickup truck and gets away. Julia flies home the next morning to support Courtney in her grief. And the local police believe the murder was a botched burglary, but the women suspect something much more sinister. They call in, and those who have been reading Lisa for years are going to know this name, hotshot Philly lawyer Bernie Rosado. But events, I'm sure, okay, the events happen that become the target of a mysterious conspiracy. Tom, do I have that right? Last line right? Events.
Yeah, I'll just read the last sentence. They call in hotshot Philly lawyer Benny Rosado, but events take a deadly turn and Julia becomes the target of a murderous conspiracy.
There you go. Cover's great. Really, really love this cover. Lisa was honored last week as a thriller legend, and it was a really, really fantastic evening. What I loved is that she talked about her family, and Lisa's very big on speaking about family and what family means to her. And she told a story about when her grandfather came to this country, he never knew how to write, and he always signed his name with an X. And it meant so much to her that 2 generations later, she was up winning this prize, having written more than 30 books and having so many people be beloved readers of hers. And it was a really interesting story about really the American dream and what can happen here. And also an author that really has taken herself in many new directions. So, really excited for Lisa. Okay, well, here are notable paperback releases. And anyone with an asterisk means I've interviewed the author, and that author interview will be available on our Book Reporter Talks to Interview series. Got Lisa Jewell's Don't Let Him In, which is such a good book. Isabel Allende's My Name is Amelia Diwali. Speak to Me of Home by Janine Cummins, which my book group read last month, and we had a great conversation about. The View from Lake Como by Adriana Trajani. You Belong Here by Megan Miranda, Megan Abbott's El Dorado Drive, Wally Lamb's The River is Waiting. We're going to be doing it. We're having a Bookaccino Live book group with him in a couple of weeks. So we'll keep you posted on that. Tom, I can't read the next one. It's Things in Nature. Can you do the title?
Yeah, it's Things in Nature Merely Grow by Yayun Lee,
Thank you.
who
Next, we've got,
uh, who actually recently won the Pulitzer Prize just last week.
oh, fantastic. Oh, that's nice that that's out in paperback now. The Idaho 4, An American Tragedy by James Patterson and Vicky Ward. I did not pick that as a bets on last year, and I'm kicking myself I didn't because that book was extremely well done. And I really enjoyed reading it. And it came about the same time that the person who was accused of the murders actually pled guilty. So it was really interesting to see how all the information was really, piling up in the story. Martha's Vineyard Beach and Book Club by Martha Hall Kelly, Stephen King's Never Flinch, and What Kind of Paradise by Janelle Brown, which was really a terrific book. It was bets on last year. Okay, these are my bets on selections so far this year. You can see the ones I've already picked, and coming up are two books actually have something in common. They were both set in Australia. They were both set in the outback in Australia. Loved both of them. Jane Harper's Last One Out, M.L. Stedman's A Far-Flung Life. I listened to A Far-Flung Life and I was really, really sorry when it ended. And when I was reading Jane's book, I felt the same way. Mad Mabel by Sally Hepworth, which I've told you about. I just loved. Catherine Stockett's The Calamity Club. Boy, I hope we do not have to wait 17 years for another book from this woman. Oh my gosh, this one's so good. And Lisa C's fabulous Daughters of the Sun and Moon. So you've got a lot to look forward to. I need to write a lot of bets on selections. Every week, Tom asks me if I have time to do them, and I need to write a lot of copies. So I'm hoping tonight and tomorrow. Okay, we've got a lot of video podcasts that we just recently put up. Me interviewing Catherine Stockett, which was really, really fun. Mother-daughter book club. Loved talking to Sue Patterson. Really, really fun conversation. Jane Harper's Last One Out. Debbie Lascar, Midnight at the War, and Allison Pataki talking about the It Girl. All are on our Book Reporter Talks to Video podcast channel. Just so you know, we're really close to hitting 1 million views and listens. I'm sorry, on the podcast, everything that we're doing. So get out there and get listening because we really want to hit that million number. It's super exciting. Put a lot of time and effort into, coming to this point, and we really love how the readers have just been discovering us and staying with us. We're also now on Spotify. So any of you that are listening on Spotify, all of our interviews are available out there as of last week. And we're getting some nice numbers coming in from there. And we have done very little promotion about it. So there we go. Very, very, it's fun because it's fun to see also how many people go back and look at and listen to interviews from a couple of years ago because you've just read the book. So remember, often the author's not on tour at that point, but you could actually see what the author was talking about with the book because we've got this fabulous archive of what's gone on over the last 6 years. Okay, we've got Lori Foster's contest is up right now. You've got until Friday, May 22nd at noon to enter one of 25 copies of her second summer Firefly summer novel, and it's following up on last year's book. It's called The Lake House, and we would love to have you be readers of it. We love, love, love getting books into readers' hands like this. So get out there and enter. And these are our summer reading selections. Right now, the one that's the contest that's open right now is the Sapphire Sea by Davis Bunn. It's open until tomorrow at noon Eastern time. These are the contests we've got going this summer. And remember, this is also a great summer reading list. So if you're looking for great books to read this summer, we've definitely got them set up for you here. Okay, we've got a contest, word of mouth. This is where you tell us what you've read, and you're entered to win both of these titles. Christina Baker Klein's The Foursome, The Things We Never Say by Elizabeth Strout. We try to pick really big titles, the kind of books that people are going to be wanting to talk about and read. We really want you to go out and tell us what you're reading. It's not hard, folks. You just go out there, tell us what you're reading right now. Give us a couple of lines about it, real simple, out on Bookreporter. Got till Friday, this Friday at noon to enter. So you want to see those entries flying in. Okay, so we are going to be discussing on Tuesday, May 26th at 8 o'clock, The River is Waiting, the instant New York Times bestseller, the Oprah Book Club pick, and my Book Reporter bets on selection. River is Waiting by Wally Lamb. It is a fantastic book. It is one of those books that really still stays with me. I think about that book a lot. After I finished reading it, I think I was paralyzed with emotion for a couple of days. So keep in mind that can happen when you're reading this book. And we would love you for joining us for this conversation. You've got time to read it now. You've got like 2 weeks before we're going to be meeting with him. So highly recommend it. And then in June, our last event of the season, we're not planning to do anything in July or August. We're going to take those months off to get some reading done of our own. Bruce Holsinger is going to join us to discuss Culpability, a national bestseller, one of Oprah's book club picks again, and one of my best bets on selection. And we will be discussing AI. And AI as it appears with this car, that this family is self-driving car. Very, very interesting book. I know a number of book clubs have been reading it. So this is your opportunity, whether your club has read it or not, to hear what Bruce is saying about it as well. So that's coming on June 24th at 8 o'clock. And we're doing a special Bookaccino Live summer preview event on Wednesday, June 17th. This is especially for, as we joke, the people who actually went back to work, to the office after the pandemic. Remember, we were only doing these things in the afternoon. And then we said, wait a second, people went back to work. They're not going to be able to see everything. Let's do an event Wednesday, June 17th at 8. So you absolutely can join us, but bring along your friends that might not be free during the day, only have free time at night. Sign up is available on Book Reporter and Reading Group guides. Also, we've got a tbrnetwork.com/events. We've got all our events listed here. Francesca on our team does a great job of keeping that up to date, as she does with all of our social media. We want to thank our intern, Isha, for helping us build this presentation. There's Isha. We really appreciate having her. She does a terrific job of helping us build the presentations each month, and that means a lot to us. Our next Bookaccino Live book preview afternoon event is going to be a preview of books releasing from June 9th to June 30th, and a peek ahead of the second half of July plus August. And remember, with Tom Donadio, there's a method to the madness on this of why we're seeing the second half of July and August. I just trust him implicitly. That's Wednesday, June 10th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And sign up once again. It's going to be available on Book Reporter, Reading Group Guides, and tbrnetwork.com/events. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you with us. We don't take your attendance at this event lightly. So thank you so very much. And we look forward to seeing you next time for Bookaccino Live.